Oh, Jeremy Corbyn, you violent monster. So Corbyn violently assaulted a reporter because he refused to answer a question he didn't like.
I'm a Jewish journalist, and Jeremy Corbyn violently grabbed my hand last night when I asked a question he didn't like.
Jeremy, have you got 2 minutes? No. Jeremy, 2 minutes.
No, we don't.
Can we get a condemnation of the recruitment by Islamic Jihad of children? Can we get a condemnation, Jeremy? Can you condemn Islamic Jihad for recruiting children? Oi, get your hands off me, Jeremy!
Put it on my face.
Unfortunately, it missed the moment he violently grabbed my wrist, but you can still see him holding my wrist as I try to ask the question.
Get your hands off me, Jeremy!
Jeremy, behave.
Ask yourself this question. What kind of a man gets angered when asked to condemn the use of child soldiers? Because that's exactly what happened. Palestinian Islamic Jihad have confirmed that the teenagers who were killed in Jenin were their fighters. Yet Jeremy didn't condemn Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Instead, he violently grabbed my hand and refused to answer the question.
He didn't just violently grab your hand, he tore it off. Like, I could see the blood splatter everywhere. I mean, what a disgusting human being. What monster he is. Now, am I completely wrong here? Or did you see a video of a journalist go up to Jeremy Corbyn, pretty much get in his face, and Corbyn just pushed his hand away? Because that's, in fact, what happened. And, of course, the title of this video, look, I couldn't help myself. I had to write that because it is so unbelievably ridiculous. So what's this all about? Well, this person is a Jewish reporter, but it's been posted on the Twitter account of Israel Advocacy Movement. What is this man trying to achieve? He doesn't care about Palestinian children. It's very, very clear, right, that violence on all sides is wrong. And Jeremy Corbyn has said that before. But let's be real here. Let's provide the context that's necessary. You have a huge power imbalance here. On one side, you've got Israel, which is backed by the West. They've got a shitload of weapons and artillery, who are attacking a community of Palestinians. Israel is an apartheid state. This isn't equal on both sides. You have to understand that. So, given you know that context, you've got Palestinians trying to fight for their lives. You've got Israel attacking them. You've got them annexing places. They're moving in. They're kicking people out. They're shooting. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, are shooting at children who are throwing rocks. This is not equal. So that context is important when you try and go up to someone like Jeremy Corbyn, who's always been a huge advocator of Palestinian rights. But you have a situation with where a powerful state is essentially trying to commit genocide on Palestinian people. Now, asking a question in the middle of a Palestine rally is clearly a loaded question. Why? So one being that those who are big supporters of Israel, why don't you talk about the fact that Israel is an apartheid state? Why don't you talk about the fact that the IDF is killing children? They don't, because they don't give a shit. What they're trying to do is to make anyone who supports Palestinian rights look bad. This video was to demonstrate, oh, Jeremy Corbyn doesn't care about innocent children dying. That's crap. Now, as someone who is an anti-Zionist, I don't paint all Zionists in the same light. Why? Because as I've said so many times, I can understand why some Jewish people have a huge emotional connection to the state of Israel. Given the rise in anti-Semitism in Europe, given the Holocaust, the state of Israel was a safe haven for them, if you will. You know, in that context, it is different to a white ethno-state because you've got white nationalists who are already the oppressors wanting to kick out people of color and to establish their own state. That is born throughout racism, clearly. Obviously, the state of Israel has a different context. However, being a progressive, everyone should accept that ethno-states, regardless of the intention, are wrong. So I am not a Zionist because I don't believe in a state that is for a particular kind of community, a particular race, or particular ethnic. It should be for anyone. So even though I understand that some people do have an emotional connection to Israel, the state itself is still wrong. You cannot have an apartheid state. You cannot have an ethno-state. But the biggest proponents of the state of Israel, the ones that ignore all the human rights abuses, they don't care about Palestinian people, clearly. So when this person asked the question to Jeremy Corbyn, this person doesn't care. He just wants to make Corbyn and anyone who supports Palestinians as immoral people. If you notice in the video, he says, what kind of man is Jeremy Corbyn that won't condemn this? He spent his entire life fighting for humanitarian issues. Oh, but suddenly when it comes to Palestinian children, he doesn't care about them, which is weird because he's a huge advocator of Palestinian rights. So clearly that's a huge contradiction there. Now, the Board of Deputies, the Jewish Chronicle, These are right-wing institutions. The JC is basically like the Sun. It doesn't just talk about anti-Semitic smears. It also talks about a lot of other right-wing things. So when the JC attacked the BBC, for an instance, they didn't do it because they cared about anti-Semitism. They did it because, for once, the BBC told the truth. BBC apologises after pro-Israel anger at question about killing children in Jenin. So the BBC asked former Israeli Prime Minister about whether the IDF is happy about killing children. Then that led to the JC and many other Israel publications condemning the BBC for what they said, but they were entirely correct because the IDF are happy that they killed children. You have a situation, right, with unarmed children who are throwing rocks at aggressive Israeli defense forces, and they're just shooting them in the head. But you don't see the JC condemning Israeli apartheid. They don't care about human rights abuses. So it brings me back to this reporter who, when asked that question to Jeremy Corbyn, his intent is to try and paint a picture rather than care about human rights abuses. Now, this isn't for all Jewish people. Majority of Jewish people are progressive. But of course, there are some Jewish people who are very pro-Israel. There's people like the JC or this reporter who are out of touch, who don't care about Palestinian people, but they're doing it to try and drag a man who actually gives a damn about innocent people being killed.